20, Attire for the Summer Luncheon. With our big luncheon only a week away, Miss Melton Mowry flipped through her notebook with so much energy she tore a page. Tick, tick, tick. That's not helpful, Officer Weston. As I was saying last week, we'll need to discuss what to wear. For men, business casual would normally be fine. That would be an open-collared shirt with a blazer. But since we're trying to impress, I'd like to dress in business attire. That would be jacket and tie. For the ladies, I stopped scratching my mosquito bites. I hoped, on top of everything else, I wasn't going to hear the five-letter word that always comes up around weddings, funerals, and fifth-grade graduations. Cassidy will have to wear a dress, won't she? Delton said. No, I won't. A dress is the correct attire for a summer luncheon, Miss Corcoran. I'm sure your mother will find something appropriate. We can leave my mother out of this, Miss Melton Mowry. I don't wear dresses. I'm allergic. Allergic? Officer Weston leaned closer and whispered in my ear, Make this fly and I'll buy you an ice cream sandwich. It's just that I get all itchy and twitchy when I put one on. I stood up to demonstrate, doing a pose I learned in yoga that looks like you're trying to scratch an itch between your shoulder blades. Since Miss Melton Mowry didn't seem impressed, I threw in a few zombie moves for good measure. Be that as it may, you'll have to find a fabric that does not irritate your skin. Need I remind you, Miss Corcoran, that you are participating in this event as restitution for damaging my property? I glanced over at Miss Information, whose head was still in her lap. I'm pretty sure Miss Melton Mowry left it there to remind me even when she wasn't reminding me. No, but how come they invented dresses anyway? You wear one and you can't climb on the monkey bars or swing on the swings unless you want everyone and their uncle to get a free show. Jersey's a good choice, Delton said, risking a massive demerit to consult his phone under the table. It's a soft knit fabric and it moves with you, so it would be appropriate for your active lifestyle. Give me that. I tried to swipe Delton's phone. I want to look up straitjacket. Mr. Bean, put your phone away this instant. Miss Corcoran knows how important it is to live up to her agreement, I am sure. If I don't wear a dress, will I go to jail even though I'm a kid? We lock kids up too, Officer Weston yawned and put his elbow on the table so he could prop up his head. He probably had to work a double shift to make up for all the time he spent in etiquette class. Come on, Cassidy, let's learn the rules of polite society. I've only got a couple of weeks to get reformed myself. I will be very pleased to wear a dress to the country club luncheon, Miss Melton Mowry, I said in my best robot zombie voice. Oh, I have to repeat that. I will be very pleased to wear a dress to the country club luncheon, Miss Melton Mowry, I said in my best robot zombie voice, though I did not stick my arms out. Thank you, Miss Corcoran. Let's review the cutlery now, shall we? I don't know how a person is supposed to enjoy lunch when she's all wrapped up like a Christmas present in bows and ribbons, I said to Delton as we stood at the window waiting for our moms. From my observation, most girls seem to enjoy wearing dresses. Well, you must be observing some very strange girls. Cassidy, I was thinking, do you want to come over tonight? I've compiled an impressive list of insects that you... Delton was interrupted by his mother coming through the front door and throwing her arms around him. Hello, Cassidy, she said after she kissed Delton's head maybe 4 times. How are you on this beautiful day? Well, to be honest, I've been better, Mrs. Bean. I tried creating my own reality during etiquette class and making a power outage, but I couldn't even get the lights to flicker. Delton is enjoying class with you. What did you say about Cassidy the other night after the fireworks, Delton? Oh, I remember. You're a real live wire. A live wire would have worked too. Usually they evacuate the entire area when there's a downed power line or maybe a sewer backup. Mrs. Bean looked at her son. I could tell she was wondering what the polite conversation response was to a sewer back. Excuse me. I could tell she was wondering what the polite conversation response to a sewer backup was. Despite all the etiquette mind-washing, I still had the touch. Say, Mrs. Bean, would you mind if I came over tonight so Delton and I could practice cutlery skills? Of course not. In fact, if you like, you could come over for dinner and practice. We've been setting the table just like Miss Melton Mowry does, so Delton will be ready for your big luncheon. Oh, that's okay. We're doing that at my house, too. Miss Information was supposed to have dinner with us tonight, but she's under the table. Don't you mean under the weather? Right, under the weather. Honestly, how did I get here? I mean, making polite conversation with Delton Bean's mom, asking to go over to his house. I told myself if Dalton could teach me not to flip out when something squirmed or crawled in front of me, then I could run off on my own. No Jack required. It's a deal then, I said, looking around for my own mom. Enough chit-chat. Time to go to the park. If my stomach wasn't rumbling like Saturday afternoon at the River City Raceway, I told my mom once we were in the car, I would have you drop me off at the park. I'm afraid we have another errand after lunch, Miss Cassidy. I just spoke with Miss Melton Mowry about the luncheon. It seems we'll be needing a dress for you. Ugh, I curled up in the back seat. Help me, I'm melting. I was doing my best Wicked Witch of the West impression, but Mom didn't even glance in the rearview mirror. I stayed a puddle for 30 seconds before I said, Seriously, Mom? Seriously, the torture just goes on and on. Let's not worry about that now. What did you learn in etiquette class today? I learned there really is such a thing as being bored to death. But you're not dead. Not yet. Etiquette class is like arsenic poisoning. It takes time. I promise you, by the end of summer, I'll be pushing up daisies. Look at that face. Magda passed me a paper napkin, which I was required to fold and place next to my fork now that we officially set the table at the Corcoran estate. You look like you ate a whole package of warheads. You'd wear this expression too, dear sister, if Mom was making you shop for a dress. I set down the butter knife, business side toward the plate, and the spoon next to that. Mom smacked a peanut butter and jelly sandwich down on the table in front of me. You wouldn't have to shop for a new dress if you hadn't wrecked your graduation dress. How was I supposed to know all that lace wasn't flame retardant? FYI, serve from the left, Mom. Mom sat down and put her elbows on the table and her chin on her fists. FYI, this isn't exactly how I hope to spend my summer afternoon either. Instead of pointing out her many etiquette don'ts, I said, I know, I'm sorry, Mom. Maybe we could cut off the parts I burned? You'd look like Cinderella in the part of the story where she was being abused, Magda chimed in. Bad idea. Swiping my fingers across my plate, I stuck a jelly-covered digit in my mouth. I've got a better idea. Let's take a break from being miserable. Want to eat lunch on the roof with me, Mom? Your finger is not a utensil, Miss Corcoran, and the roof isn't. I know. We could all eat together outside on a picnic blanket. Remember when you girls were little and we used to lie under the oak tree while I read Anne of Green? Sorry, Mom. Magda pushed back from the table. I'm conducting an experiment that needs constant surveillance. I say we let Cassidy commune with nature by herself. Grabbing a handful of potato chips, she stuck one in her mouth before adding, She needs time alone to set an intention to be civil while you're shopping. I can eat in the oak tree, I offered. Fine, but no higher than the second floor. Oh, and I almost forgot. This arrived in the mail for you today. Mom handed me an envelope covered in skulls and crossbones, except for the part with my name and address written on it. Grabbing it out of my hand, Magda said, This looks like hate mail. Maybe it needs to spend some time in my laboratory to ensure it doesn't contain any suspicious substances. It's top secret, I said, trying to grab it back. But Magda held it out of my reach. Top secret from the Door County Academy of Gymnastics? It's the kind of letter that should only be read in a tree. Mom took the letter from Magda and handed it back to me. Then she put my sandwich in my lunchbox and threw in a couple of extra cookies, maybe to show there were no hard feelings about her picnic idea. With my lunchbox handle in my mouth and the letter in my back pocket, I climbed up our oak tree to the piece of plywood Jack and I had wedged into a spot where three big branches split off from the trunk. I was glad Magda and Mom had seen my super secret letter from Livy filled with code no one but me could read because I'd spent hours memorizing it over the weekend. Well, it felt like hours. Maybe Magda would mention it to Bree, who would mention it to Jack, who would discover he wasn't the only one in the world with secrets. But first things first, I was starving. Balancing the lunchbox on the plank, I opened it, broke off half of a sandwich, half of sandwich, and crammed it into my mouth. Tree etiquette, I said with my mouth more than full. One always eats with your mouth open and spray as many crumbs as possible, while mumbling. Two, if you wipe your mouth, do it with the back of your hand, and then, if the food is good, 3, lick it off. If not, swipe it on your shorts. 4, never, ever use a napkin. It will either blow away or you'll drop it. Save a tree and use the tails of your shirt if you have to. Impressed with my new set of rules, I searched the ground for someone who might be eavesdropping. How do you know if you're funny if there's nobody there to hear you? Even Bree wasn't around. I leaned back against a gnarly branch and slipped the letter out of my pocket. I also pulled out the piece of paper Delton had given me in class. That one could wait. Careful not to tear any of the great pirate art, I used my fingernail under the flap and worked to get the letter open, mostly without tearing. This was going to be great. For once, I'd done my homework. Only 3 people in the world, me, Livy, and Judy Hanson, whoever she was, could read it. Only I couldn't read it. I stared at the letter for a full minute. It was written in code all right, but it wasn't the code I'd memorized. Instead of moons and light bulbs and candy canes, there were angles and squares and dots. It was a different code. I crumpled up the letter and stuffed it into my lunchbox. Did she have so many friends and codes that Livy Dunn couldn't keep them straight? Of course, I couldn't cross my arms and legs in the tree, so I just sat there fuming. What was the matter with that girl? To calm down, I tried chanting Om. I even looked cross-eyed at a cardinal that had the great misfortune to land near me in case that would help. Instead, I ended up throwing one of my cookies at it. If I climbed down now, I risked taking my anger out on another human being, which meant I'd be grounded for life for assault, probably on my older sister. There was nothing to do but read the note of instructions Delton had given me, written in plain English. Cassidy, I copied this off the internet. Read it through at least a few times before you try imagining an invertebrate. Full diagram, breathing and progressive relaxation for panic disorder by Dr. C.T. Mills, anxietydoc.com. Panic disorder? Was that what Delton thought I had? Was that what I had? Maybe some full diaphragm breathing would help me forget the hours I had wasted this weekend learning the chipmunk code. When people experience a phobia, they often report being short of breath. Some feel they can't breathe at all. However, if you can say, I can't breathe, you can, in fact, breathe, because we speak by making air vibrate. The trouble is, you are only breathing with your upper body or your chest. You need to learn to breathe with your belly. Geez, you'd think a doctor would know that your stomach was in your belly, not your lungs. I sucked the paper under my lunchbox and ripped the straw off my juice box, slurping loud. I balanced a cookie on my nose. Then I tried to touch it with my tongue before reading more. What you want to do is activate your diaphragm, the muscle that inflates your lungs. To do this, place one hand on your belly and one on your chest and practice breathing with only the belly hand moving. I followed the instructions. Though this was difficult to do in a tree, I think I figured out what all those pale-faced teenagers were doing in yoga class, breathing from the bottom of their stomachs. The next thing I was supposed to do was close my eyes and check in with different parts of my body, starting at my feet. I tensed them up and then relaxed them. Then I went to my calves, then my knees. How were you supposed to tense your knees, I wondered. The cool part was, all this distracting was making it easier to forget how much I wanted to punch a certain someone. Cassidy, it's time to go, I heard Mom shout from the base of the tree. I'm meditating, I shouted back. Well, you'll have to finish in the car. Who meditates in the car? I asked after my face had been scrubbed with a washcloth and a comb yanked through my hair, like a 4-year-old. People with schedules. My book club is tonight and I still have to make my spaghetti pie. Are you going to cook one for us? No, I'm going to let you starve. Of course I am, though I do have conditions. You're not going to make us eat like we're polite society at dinner again, are you? Yes, I am, in fact. And if you're lucky, I'll let you demonstrate for Norma Pierce when she comes by to pick me up. Seriously? Not really, but I do have some conditions for this store visit, young lady. I want you to promise there will be no zombie act, no cross-eyed looks, no stuttering, no sneezing fits, no diabetic comas, no fainting spells, no sudden blindness. In other words, behave yourself. There's a spaghetti pie on the line. Mom pulled into the parking lot, parked crooked, and slammed the door after she got out. Corcoran Sign Language for not in the mood. I had to give it a try anyway. Come on, Cassidy. I can't feel my legs. Did I forget to say no paraplegic stunts? Mom yanked on my arm and half dragged me into the store. Good afternoon, ladies. Can I help you find something? Are you sure you're up for the challenge, Miss? Mom squinted to read her name tag. Evans? I just celebrated my 10-year anniversary at Stetler's. She pointed to a star next to her name. We started the long walk to the juniors department. Good, a veteran. Cassidy here needs a dress for a summer luncheon at the country club. Oh, I see. You might find this section more Appropriate. Miss Evans did a half turn and started to walk in the opposite direction. It's not our country club. She'll be a guest. Gotcha. We did another about face and headed back in the direction we'd come from. What do you think Great-Grandma Reed would have worn? I asked Mom. Battle fatigues, I imagine, from the photos you and Magda have been finding. I started to ask where the camouflage section was, but I resisted. I was hoping to see sunlight again at some point today. What's your favorite color, Cassidy? Miss Evans asked me. Don't say black. What? Mom, you know I'm always in mourning when I have to wear a dress. She likes blue, my mom said. It brings out her eyes. Miss Evans flicked through dresses on the racks, holding one out every now and then to consider it. You'd think she was going to the lunch at the country club. I pretended to be looking too, but really I was backing away. Before they imprisoned me in a dressing room, I was hoping for a few turns on the escalator. It's a hard age to buy for, Miss Evans was saying to Mom. Not a little girl, but not yet a young lady either. You can say that again. I left juniors and got lost in misses. Who knew there were so many ways to look like a flower? Over the top of the rack of dresses, I saw Brie. Or I thought, just for a minute, that I saw Brie. It was only a mannequin. Still, from the back it looked a lot like her. Same hair, same headband, and a dress she'd probably wear on her first day of high school. I went closer. The skirt felt like tissue paper, only stiff, and there were flowers on the sleeves. I got a vision of two floats colliding at the May Day parade. Disgusting. I ran to my mom and pulled her back to the dummy. I want this one, I said. You can't be serious. It is beautiful, Miss Evans clucked. So feminine. Funny, I hadn't pegged you for a girly girl. Oh, I'm as girly as they get, Miss Evans. To cement the deal, I winked at her. Cassidy? Mom was squeezing my arm. Have you and Miss Evans discussed this fine weather we're having? I asked Mom. Because if not, I'd like to get in on that. Personally, I favor clouds, just one or two for variety. What are you playing at, young lady? Mom whispered as Miss Evans dove deep into the rack to find a dress in my size. Drawing my shoulders back for dining posture, I raised my nose up an inch and sniffed. Mrs. Corcoran, I don't want to play at being a young lady. I want to be one. I unlatched Mom's fingers from my arm and took the dress. Thank you, Miss Evans. In the dressing room, I wondered, do you need a map to get into this thing? First there were buttons, then a zipper, then these little thingies that looked like baby fish hooks. It'd be easier to crack a safe, I mumbled, yanking it over my head with my eyes closed. Once I had it over my head, I groped my way to the mirror, eyes still squeezed shut. When I finally opened them, I threw my hands up to protect me from the girl staring back at me. Disaster was too kind a word. I sat down on the little bench they put in every dressing room to give myself a pep talk. You can do this, Cassidy. Create your own reality. I stood in front of the mirror again. Maybe if I pulled my hair out of the collar and mussed it up like I've seen girls do on TV. Funny, that's how my hair usually looked, especially if I managed to escape Mom and her long-toothed comb of doom. There was no doubt about it. I looked like one of those missing kids whose photos they put on the back of milk cartons. What would Livy think if she saw me now? Then I remembered I didn't care what Livy thought. Livy only got an opinion when I received a letter filled with candy canes and kites and balloons. It's what Jack thought that mattered. Even though he'd lost his marbles, I still wanted him to be my best friend. Plastering a smile on my face, I left the dressing room. Perfect, I said, twirling around like a runway model. This is the dress you choose to wear to the luncheon? I nodded, keeping my smile in place. I'm going to make you sign an agreement to that, effective before we cut off the tags. That would be lovely, Mrs. Corcoran. I scooted back into the dressing room to remove the monstrosity. At the cash register, I pretended to look over the scarves while Mom and Miss Evans had more polite conversation. How old is Cassidy? Miss Evans asked. 11. Girls change at this age. Their interests change. I see it all the time. Trust me, she's up to something. Moving over to the sunglasses, I tried on a pair. The best thing about sunglasses is that when you're wearing them, no one can tell if you're fibbing. One summer, they're being dragged in here in dungarees. The next year, they're asking to try on perfume. Can I try on perfume? I asked Miss Evans. What are dungarees? Blue jeans, Mom said. And no, you may not. Tell me you didn't cut the tags off, Magda said when Mom showed her the dress. She and Bree were up in Magda's room working on some DIY project for Bree that involved loads of pink fabric and a staple gun. Of course I didn't. She's up to something. I thought I'd give you first crack at breaking her. Bree took the safety pins out of her mouth. Never judge a dress until it's on. You want me to put it on again? Isn't it enough that I put it on in the store? I thought you loved it, Mom said. You told the sales lady that it made you feel like a pretty pink flower. Magda pressed her hand to my forehead. She's young to be exhibiting signs of delusional disorder. That was just polite conversation, I said, in my defense. Well, go try it on then. Magda handed her wad of fabric to Bree. Maybe on your body it will undergo some alchemical transformation. It's so feminine, Mom said, shoving the dress at me. Take it to the bathroom, Cassidy, and when you have it on, picture yourself at Cousin Laurel's wedding in August, too, maybe even the first day of middle school. I went into the bathroom, but instead of trying on the dress, I pressed my ear to the door. Mom, she is not wearing that dress. If you think Cassidy, maybe she's trying to catch the eye of a certain someone, Magda? A certain someone who is trying to catch the eye of a certain someone who loves pink? I almost came charging back out, but then Bree said, well, bravo for Cassidy for fighting for what she wants. I say, let's help her. I couldn't hear any more because I proceeded to try to commit suicide by suffocating myself in a wad of gauzy fabric. The smile was a little harder to make stick than it had been in the store. Looking in the mirror, all I could think about was the time I dropped a perfectly good billow of rainbow cotton candy on the ground at the Michigan State Fair. I'm not sure I can handle the sight of this twice in one day, I heard Mom say. I'll leave you girls to it. Oh, Cassidy. Magda adjusted her glasses like she was trying to focus me. You look like a wedding cake. Your instincts were correct, Magda. Bree reached out and touched the sleeve of the dress. Don't cut the tags off. Bree, are you up there? I got the curtain rod you wanted from Ace Hardware. Jack came bounding up the stairs. It wasn't so easy riding up Fulton Street with it bungeed to the back of my bike, but that's where years of walking to the top of the fence. I put my hands in front of my face again, shielding me from Jack's expression. Cassidy? Is that you? Why are you dressed like a fairy? Excuse me? Getting huffy is a proven defense when you are caught doing something extremely stupid. Are you saying you don't like this dress, Jack? Why would I like it? It's pink. And flowers. If you tried to climb out the window in that, you'd probably get strangled on the way down. Not to mention if you jumped onto a speeding train. Fine, I get it. Bree took hold of my shoulders. It's not the dress, Cassidy. It's definitely the dress, Magda said. For the first time ever, I saw an unhappy look cross Bree's face. It's not the dress. It's you in the dress. What I mean is, the dress is not you. It's like me wearing a bow tie, Jack said, handing the rod to Magda. It doesn't work. Well, what should I wear? I tried to sit on the edge of the bed, but all the layers of the dress made it so I just kind of leaned on it. I can't go naked to the luncheon. I can't wear dungarees. What are dungarees? Jack sat next to me, like he'd been invited to this conversation. Bree put her arms around me, which I didn't mind so much because it blocked the view of my hideous dress from Jack Taylor. Believe it or not, Cassidy, there are dresses for girls like you. Let me go next door and get my fashion magazine. Delton said I should wear jersey, I mumbled. I thought jersey was a cow, Jack said. Thanks, Jack. I ran into the bathroom and slammed the door hard enough to make my teeth rattle. No, wait. Bree stayed on the other side talking to me. I don't know who Delton is, but that's brilliant. Jersey is a fabric that was first used by Coco Chanel. Do you know who Coco Chanel is, Cassidy? No, and with a name like that, I don't want to. She was a fashion designer in the olden days. She got women out of corsets, you know, those tight things around their waists, and into dresses where they could move freely. And she used jersey to do it. Before that, jersey was only used for men's underwear. So I'd be wearing men's underwear to the luncheon? At least this sounded more interesting. You better take this seriously, Magda you better take this seriously. Magda had joined Bree at the door. I can tell you right now, Cassidy, that dress goes above and beyond calamity into catastrophe territory. Magda, hand me your iPad. Come out, Cassidy, and I'll show you. I stuffed the dress into the dirty laundry and put my shorts and t-shirt back on. She's not so bad, Jack said, looking at the screen Bree was holding up. I like the cigarette holder. So I get to wear men's underwear and wave a cigarette holder? I leaned over. It was still an old-fashioned dress, but it wasn't as bad as the one I just stuffed down the laundry chute. It says here on Wiki that Coco Chanel's qualities include genius, lethal wit, sarcasm, and a maniacal destructiveness which intrigued and appalled everyone. Let me see that. I took the iPad from Bree. Do they have a store for her? No, but she's still influencing dressmakers. We'll help you find something, Cass. Mama and I love to shop. End of chapter 20.